Hi guys, this is Laura Keener. I am excited to share with you our final practicum portfolio reflection. So I'll just jump right into it by reminding you about my memory that I shared from whenever I was in elementary school about librarianship. That I had this librarian in elementary school who, at the end of every library session, would draw either a happy face or a sad face for depending on how our library classes behaved during class that day. So we were either a happy library class or a sad library class. And this way that she kind of judged our learning environment really inspired me to want to focus on inclusive and collaborative environments as I completed my practicum experiences for this semester. So I'm really going to try to highlight how this inclusive and collaborative environment plays into every one of the standards that I tried to cover. So whenever we look at standard number one, the learner and learning, I focused on the ability to support the learning of all students, including those with diverse physical and intellectual abilities, because obviously that is vital to creating those inclusive learning environments. So for my reading promotion, I created a bingo challenge. This corresponds with a few different aspects of the learner and learning, including standard 1.2, which is the ability to support the learning of all students, and standard 1.3, which is the ability to support the learning students with diverse physical and intellectual abilities. So I really learned the most about this project as I was reflecting on ways that I could make it better whenever I made the first challenge that you can see over here on the left. I really didn't include lots of different activities that students complete in the library, such as digital citizenship or coding. I really just included only things about reading, which wasn't really even accessible to a lot of kindergarten and first grade students. So whenever Dr. Cooksey met with me for my on-site visit, we looked at this reading challenge also, and she suggested that maybe we could make this available to first and second grade classes as a whole. So instead of individual students working on it, the whole class could collaborate. Maybe every student in the class could take one square, so they would really have ownership. They would really feel more engaged in this activity, and then that would allow them to have their choice and their voice whenever they're participating in their reading. So I thought that that was a really cool idea, and I suggested that to my elementary mentor librarian going forward. So this was a really fun way that we were able to get more students involved in the library. So moving on to standard two, this was planning for instruction using a variety of strategies to promote leisure reading. So this is absolutely another aspect of creating inclusive and collaborative environments, because it is creating that culture of reading. And really that culture of reading is what's foundational to the school, and the school librarian cannot create this culture of reading in isolation. So my secondary mentor librarian and I collaborated to curate this list of internet links and bookmarks that we shared with teachers to post in their LMS classrooms. These included quizzes, right, as you can see right here. If I could move my floating head just a little bit, I really liked this one because it appeals to the students, and it's, what to read based on your favorite TV shows. So Stranger Things just came out, so that's really popular right now. So this was a way that students were really able to identify books that they would like based on the TV shows. Another thing that we encouraged teachers to do was have students use ChatGPT appropriately. So all students have to do is type in to ChatGPT the type of book they're looking for. So maybe they're looking for like an 11th grade romance, or maybe ninth graders are looking for an adventure graphic novel. And actually ChatGPT will provide a list of books that they might be interested in. So I liked that idea, of planning for instruction, and that we are teaching students how to use ChatGPT appropriately. So not only are we working with that culture of reading, but we're also helping students understand how to use those digital tools and platforms ethically and responsibly. So that was kind of a 2-for-1 there. And that actually worked out. Some students were able to find some books that they liked reading, so that was definitely a plus. So for standard number 3, knowledge and application of content is what we looked at. And here I tried to show my ability to demonstrate a knowledge of children's and young adult literature that addresses the needs of all learners. So for this standard, I was part of my PLC group. I teach pre-AP English 2, and we wanted to identify a list of international young adult novels for our pre-AP literature circles. So the international the international literature is mandated by the Arkansas Department of Education in the 10th grade standards, but we really thought that it was more important to include international literature in the 10th grade because we see that as an area that's an area that's overlooked in the secondary ELA curriculum because the 12th grade focuses on British literature, 11th grade focuses on American literature. So we really saw that there is a gap in student awareness and student knowledge that they do not get exposed to this international literature. And so we really wanted to try to find some books that would address that gap. So I obviously, since I was involved in this, kind of took this on as a great learning project for me, great learning opportunity. So working again with my secondary library mentor, we looked for books. We kind of based our selection criteria on texts that obviously don't reinforce those stereotypes, but would build empathy, awareness, critical thinking about social issues, and obviously supporting intellectual growth. That's foundational whenever we're thinking about texts we want our students to read. All of these various considerations really seemed like a big task whenever I was first looking at it. But as I was reviewing the material that we have learned throughout our master's coursework, we are really fully prepared to make these kinds of informed decisions. We know that we can consult professional selection tools such as reviews, award lists, journals. So I felt really prepared once I got into this to be able to research and select these high quality materials that were culturally authentic, that were age appropriate, and that were relevant to my young adult readers so they would actually, hopefully, enjoy the books that we chose for them. And a lot of these were very successful whenever we implemented this literature circle project. So, moving on to standard 4, organization and access, trying to show my ability to advocate and facilitate for flexible, open access to library resources. This was something fun that my elementary mentor librarian asked me to do. In her library, kindergarten students don't check out materials from day one because some of them have never even really set foot into a library. So she has to spend some of her time kind of setting those foundational guidelines. Here's how we use a library. Here's how we treat our books. So once kindergarten students were ready to check out books, she asked me to organize. I'm trying to move my face around again here. She asked me to organize this section for kindergarten students to allow them to check out books. So this kind of had a few different aspects that I wasn't quite prepared for. But again, just referring back to the coursework that we have studied in the past, we organized these books by bins, as you can see here. If the bins had a front, we tried to clearly label them. Some of them that were clear on the front, those worked out even better so that students could easily see the content of the tubs. Being able to front face these books allows the students to be able to see the kind of content that is in them. What the elementary librarian actually ended up doing was taking these off of the shelves so the students could peruse them more easily. So this really kind of supports these students' independence as and their confidence as they're learning to make their own choices. It's supporting their early literacy development as they're using the visual cues that they see. Obviously, kindergarteners and not all first graders can read yet, so they're using those visual cues and those icons. Obviously, we're improving accessibility whenever replacing these shelves and taking the books off the shelves and putting them in the tubs on the floor. The process of organizing these was, as most things are, challenging at first, but I will say it was fun to have my fifth grade daughter there with me. She helped me organize these books, and it was fun to kind of get to hear her input on what she thought just kind of naturally went together. And interestingly, we did end up organizing these kindergarten books in very much the same way that the rest of the elementary library is organized, in that we separated nonfiction from fiction. And then we just kind of did subdivisions from there. We had a lot of dog books, a lot of cat books. There were tons of piggy and elephant books. I think in this class before I've talked about how much we love piggy and elephant. And then within the nonfiction, there were just some natural categories that arose, such as water animals. I think we had some insects in here. Yes. We had land animals, sports, careers. So we really just kind of let the categories take place as they naturally did. And it was interesting to see how that process really did mirror how the elementary library is organized and the high school library as well. And finally, let me go back, sorry, for standard number 5, leadership, advocacy, and professional responsibility, getting to deliver that professional learning that meets the needs of the learning community. These are just some pictures of whenever I got to present my professional development to my learning community. Obviously, that inclusive and collaborative environment is not isolated just to students, but it extends to our colleagues, to all of our faculty and staff. So this was a way that I was able to teach my fellow teachers about a new learning platform that would fit in with one of our ELA goals for this year, which was developing deeper depth of knowledge questions. That was one thing that our ELA department is working on this year. So my professional learning session demonstrates that advocating for the library isn't limited to the physical space or to book circulation, but that advocating for the library really involves empowering teachers with the tools and the skills that they need to create meaningful reading and comprehension learning activities. All of these combine to create that inclusive and collaborative environment that would really be my goal as a school librarian. So finally, kind of some final questions that we were asked to look at. What was something that we found surprising? I thought going into this program that I would really be all about reader advisory, but the more that I spent time working in the library and kind of working through our courses, I realized that I love creating instructional opportunities. So if I ever got to be a secondary librarian, I would love to be an instructional leader and really work hand in hand and side by side my fellow teachers. Just how can I help you? What can I take off your plate? That was something else that really stuck with me. How can I support you in what you're doing? One evolution in my thinking about librarianship was that I thought that librarians just spend a lot of their time ordering books, repairing books, and while that is true, I realized that maybe even a more important aspect of librarianship is cultivating that culture of reading that we want throughout the school, because having those books available doesn't matter as much. That we have ordered some really cool books, that we have been repairing the books, doesn't matter as much if we don't have that culture of reading, where people will actually come into the library and use those materials that we have ordered and that we have been repairing. And then finally, part of my one big insight that I had as a result of this program was I realized that instead of just providing resources for teachers and students, really what my goal as a librarian would be to intentionally empower my community, really intentionally guiding students and teachers towards what they need when they need it. So whether I'm helping a student choose the right book, or if I'm supporting a teacher with instructional tools, really trying to realize that that meaningful impact does come from listening to them first, then trying to respond with my expertise combined with empathy, and combining those to achieve the purposes of both the school library and my users and patrons. Y'all, it's been just a pleasure getting to go through these courses with you. I appreciate getting to learn from you, and I just really wish y'all the best in our future endeavors, and I hope that our paths cross again. Thank you for everything that you've taught me.